All right, guys, you ready to rock and roll? Well, this shouldn't be too bad. This is, again, practical. Most of my stuff, I try to keep it pretty practical, the how-tos, not the theory behind it. And this is my approach on a listing pitch. Everyone else, there's no right or wrong way to do a listing, right? This is my trial and error approach that I've kind of come up with over years. You're going to naturally tweak it to fit yourself and your own strategy. So, like, take from this what you want. You can use this as a foundation until you figure your own stuff on your own. This is just how I like to do it. And it works pretty damn well, if you ask me. But it also works for my sales strategy. So you can definitely make this edited to fit your needs as you go. I'm going to kick over to this listing pitch training and take it from there. Listing pitches. All right. So in theory, we're all going to have plenty of listing pitches in our careers. This is one of the most important parts. Getting a listing is awesome, right? Because getting one listing doesn't mean one sale. Getting a listing means you have a place to hunt. You're going to have neighbors to meet, all that kind of stuff. It also lets you plant a flag in your front yard with your name on it and all that kind of stuff. You can take a ton of credit. So when you get a listing, it makes you authentic. It's like you really finally hit it. My approach is always providing value and solving problems. Sure, I like to meet them and create a relationship, but my approach through real estate is always providing value and solving problems, generally speaking. I like to know my shit inside and out and take their problems and fix it. I think that is a very duplicatable approach and something that can be replicated. So when we first show up to the property, what do I like to do? Touring the property. Couldn't be simpler. I don't want to come on aggressive off the bat. So I want to come in and build some time to get comfortable with each other. I want to be super complimentary and excited about the property, really just be friendly. People love their houses. It's special because it's theirs. It's like my 5-year-old when he makes an art project, right? It's just like every other 5-year-old's art project, but he's excited about it, so I'm excited about it. It makes it feel good. Same thing with their house. So share their enthusiasm. Oh, wow, you painted everything red. Wow, that's exciting. Cool, cool, cool. Oh, your grandpa built this patio. That's awesome. You know what I mean? Like just be stoked for them because they'll enjoy it. Look for small details you like and share it back with them. That's the kind of thing that really makes people know you're paying attention and listening. Oh, I love the beams in here. Oh, look at this. This is so neat. I would sit and have my coffee here. Like, point out little things and just be like, oh, this is so special. And this is why I love it. You really got to talk positively about the property and show them that you're loving the home and you're excited about it. Because ultimately speaking, they want to hire somebody to sell their home that's just as excited about it as they are. And don't get caught on negatives with the home that they present to you and or that you find. Basically, oh, well, the tiles are all cracked in here. That's no big deal, guys. It's no big deal. People are going to love it just like you love it and just like I love it, right? You're a pro. You've dealt with everything. You've sold homes with broken tiles before. Don't let that catch on them. Some people are going to be super scared and really hammer in on the imperfections of their property because they know and live in it and they've seen it happen over time. No one's really going to notice in the initial walkthrough. So don't let them get caught on little things. And you're there to make those problems go away and find solutions. So if they're like, oh man, you know, these tiles are cracked, the tiles are cracked. Don't worry, guys. Most buyers aren't going to care, but if we want to, we can remedy this. I have tile repairmen. I have this, that, and the other thing. Like we can get this squared away for you. Don't let it be a problem. We're keeping the energy super positive, super friendly, and super complimentary at first. During that property time, your number one goal is to build rapport. That's building the relationship. You are on the first meeting of what promises to be a very close relationship for the next 1 to 4 months. So you really want to spend time connecting with them. They are hiring you because they like you. So ultimately speaking, assume that you're going to do a good job and that you know what you're talking about, but you really want to connect with them on a personal basis. Finding commonality to share it with them is huge. If I ever see anything sports related, I'm naturally going to talk to them about it. Oh, you got an Eagles jersey on, or you're wearing an Eagles hat? Oh, well, the Chiefs really got you last time, that kind of thing, right? Now, it doesn't need to be sports. Anything. Oh, I see pictures of kids. I have kids. Oh, you have a dog. Oh my God, if they have a dog, talk to them about their dog. Dog people love to talk about their dogs. This is the cutest dog I've ever seen. Like lay into it. So find commonality, share personal experiences, share who you are and let them know who you are. Oh, I love this because of this. This is, oh, I like to do this kind of things. I went to this school. Like show it to them. It's not a formal business meeting where they want you to be a robot. You're going to be the representation of them. So like show who you are and a little bit of your personality in an upbeat, positive spirit. Present the demeanor that you're going to be using to sell their property. Because sure, they want to know that you have the knowledge and all that kind of stuff, the back end softwares, the great marketing. They're interviewing you because the demeanor that you're showing to them is the same demeanor that you're going to be showing their house. So if you come in and you're hemming and hawing and scared and nervous, they're like, oh no, that's not the representation that I want at the open house. You got to put yourself out there, puff up your chest, be there, be present. If you're funny, be funny. If you're confident, be confident. Whatever it is, like show them how you sell during that time period. I'll give you an example because I've been on several listing pitches with Jen. Jen will start belly laughing no matter what. She's just going to be bubbly and start laughing and showing her personality. And people immediately melt to it, right? Because that's who she is. She wants to be bubbly. She wants to laugh. And it warms them up throughout that process. So there's no wrong or right answer of who you are. Just be that true representation of how you're going to be when you're selling that home. And if it's going to be a good fit, they're interviewing you as a person. So during this process, when we're walking around the property, we're being complimentary, we're creating commonality, we're showing off our personality, we're also listening. This is a time to ask questions. Find out their pain points. They're worried about the broken tile. They're worried about making the money because they need to go buy something elsewhere. Oh man, my husband just got a job in another place and we gotta move. Like listen, be listening and record all those details. What is causing them pain? What are their worries, concerns, etc.? Those are the golden nuggets of information that you are going to use to build your whole presentation. So I'm not walking in through the front door knowing like, oh, I'm going to talk about how this is going to be the price and this is going to be the strategy. And I'm just listening and I'm formulating in their mind, oh, they're not going to be ready until June. And oh, they're going to want this. Oh, they're worried about spending money on the front end. Like all this is being recorded, right? Because we're going to stay very fluid on our path of what we suggest to them to be the correct strategy in selling their home. And I don't know how they want their end result to be. So I'm not coming in with a preconceived notion. I literally want to find out what they want out of this transaction. If they've have past real estate experience, meaning because people will love to talk about, oh, the time I sold my home in Minneapolis, find out what they like, find out what they didn't like. If they ever had a bad experience with a real estate agent, they're going to tell you all about it. It's human nature. Oh, my last agent was a jerk. X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. They're going to tell you what they don't like. So you can definitely understand what they prioritize in that process. A lot of times you'll also hear them say, oh, my last agent was so good, but he or she retired. They were this, they were that. They're, again, giving you these key insights into what is the most important part of the process for them. Gather that information because we're going to use it later. Okay, so we've gone and we've done our tour. Let's assume it was a 2,000 square foot house. We spent 20 minutes walking around. We weren't rushing through the process. I wasn't opening a bathroom door and moving through it as quickly as possible. I was pointing out things I liked. I was talking to them about some of their personal life, like I was building the bond. And then I say, okay, perfect. Well, I feel like I have a good understanding. Is there a good place where we can sit down and kind of start discussing the next steps? And they'll lead you to their most comfortable place. Like, Oh, is this your chair? I don't want to sit. Like, you just want to keep it casual, but this is the transition. Okay, now is where the meeting begins. We're no longer building rapport, We're going to start going back and forth, and I'm going to start kind of being your guide into what this real estate process will look like. I'm going to then sit down and immediately start asking clarifying questions. You mentioned to me that your husband got a new job and you need to be out of here by the end of August. Do you need to have the home sold by that point? Do you plan on leaving and then listing your house once you've vacated? Do you need the money in hand to buy a new home in the place you're going? Do you plan on renting when you get there, or do you plan on purchasing? What is your backup plan? Are you like, I'm trying to figure out what their full story is. And I'm reiterating their pain points and reiterating their concerns that they told me along the way too. Hey, I know that you mentioned that you absolutely cannot feasibly do this unless you get 500 for this sale. Would you be open to investing a little bit of money in polishing the property up to get it to a 500 sales? Like, these are the qualifying questions I'm talking about, because again, I need to bring this all home while I'm formulating my strategy on what they want. Now, when you reiterate their pain points to them, and so if they made an off the cusp comment about their broken tile at the very beginning and they're concerned about it, and you start asking qualifying questions, hey, I know you're really concerned about that tile. Is that something you'd like me to have quoted and repaired prior to coming to market? If you brought that back from 30 minutes ago, and that was just a little comment they made to you, boom, you're showing you're listening, you're showing you're paying attention, and you're starting to solve the problems that they had. So that's something that's super important. Then we transition into the presentation. I always start with this question. What does the perfect sale look like to you? And that seems at face value like such a stupid question, because everyone assumes, I want to have the most money and I want to get an all cash perfect offer right away and have it be simple. And so I have to ask that question because some people have a priority on convenience. Hey, they want to live in the home during the time frame. They have young kids. They don't want showings unless it's during the school hours where their kids are at school. They don't want open houses being held on the weekends. I have people that say, I got to sell this thing immediately. Like my priority is not to get the highest bang for your buck. I need this sold by August 1st before I leave. You want to find out what the perfect sales looks like to them. And you want to find out what their priority is. Is it top dollar versus convenient sale? Are they going to be living there? Do they have restrictions on showing times? How quickly do they need to get the money in hand? Do they already have a plan on where they're going after the sale? Like, these are all the things that we need to know before we kind of move into the next mindset. Now, we're going to transition into talking strategies and outlining options. I'm going to bring back their pain points and provide solutions to them. I understand that you're concerned about the condition of this tile. I can either A, get it quoted, get it repaired. I think we can get a home inspector to mention that it's just a little bit of settlement and there won't be any future damage. I don't think most buyers will hold it too hard against us, but we can put in vinyl flooring, usually costs $550 a square foot installed. It'll look beautiful. It'll be considered an upgrade. And I think on that $550 a square foot that we spend, it might return $7 a square foot. So it's actually a capital investment where it's going to make you money. I brought back that pain point. I provided a solution, and I want to make sure that they feel heard in their worries. It alleviated their fears. Hey, we have a solution to it, and it's going to work out. It shows them that you get it, you understanding, and you're making a strategy. Okay, I understand that you need to be out of here by August, and because you're going to be going to your new job, but you're going to want to list after the fact. Well, I'll handle all the heavy lifting. You're going to vacate on August 1, heading off across the country. I can have it painted. I can have it cleaned. I can have the marketing take place. I can have this thing brought to market on August 15th. at which point I'll start doing open houses every weekend and doing private showings upon request until we get this thing sold. We're going to be looking at, probably 30 days on market from that point. We're going to be looking at an offer that we're going to receive anywhere from 10-day and cash close to 30-day close of escrow. You should have your cash in hand within 60 days of vacating the premises and going to Minneapolis. Is that something that's going to work for you? So we're starting to outline the strategy to get there. Providing suggestions and upgrades. This is something that you're really going to have to get a feel for who your seller is going into the process. Somebody that's going to be pinching pennies and doesn't have the cash or capital on the front end to invest into their property, you don't want to go in suggesting that they spend 25 grand to polish the house up, right? Like, that's not who we're aiming at here. Maybe we can suggest doing a little bit of decluttering and getting the home presentable, but working within our bounds. They can put in a little sweat and doing some weeding in their front yard, but we're not actually asking them to spend money. But if I'm dealing with the loaded dude this is his third home and he just wants to maximize it, it was a rental for a little while, but he doesn't really care. Maybe I'm going to go talk to him like, hey, dude, in order to get the most value, we got to get rid of all this carpet, put in some engineered hardwood. These countertops are Formica. They're horrible. I want to put in some granite, make it look really pretty. I want to paint the interior and the exterior. I think we're going to spend about 30 grand, of which I think we're going to raise your sales price about 100 grand. So it's a 70 grand profit on investment. Like, I'm going to talk to them about that. On a smaller scale than that, just talking about the carpet. Hey, listen, the carpet should really be replaced. I think it'll cost around $3,000 to $5,000 to take about a week to install. I can get quotes from Moving Carpet with Caravan, my trusted vendor. Typically, a situation like this, for every dollar spent, we can assume about $3 in return, because your dog that you love so much has pissed all over this carpet. It smells weird. It's going to turn off everybody that walks in the home. I don't want to let this get in the way, and let's make this weakness of the property into a strength. Hey, we got brand new flooring in there. So providing suggestions like that are a really good way of increasing the value and also showing, hey, I know what it is I'm talking about. Talking about your target market and your buyer profile is not something that most agents do. And this is huge. I started doing this with my spec builders primarily and my flippers and rehabbers, because we have to build to that market, right? And what I soon realized is it shed such a light on it to them that I started doing it with everyone. And what I mean by it is this: if we go into a single level home, 2-bed, 1-bath in Carmel by the Sea, I'm going to say, well, really, our target market is this. Number one, it might be a second home Bay Area person who's looking for a low end of the spectrum, something they can get into. It's not an everyday user. It doesn't have enough space for that, but this is going to be a fantastic second home for somebody commuting either from the Bay Area or the Central Valley. Our second target market for a home of this size is a single widow or widower and/or couple that's downsizing from a large home and wants something without stairs. If I'm going to a huge family compound, I'm going to be saying, hey, this is the Carmel School District. It has multiple sets of stairs. It's probably going to rule out most of your buyers who are going to be elderly and looking to downsize. I think this is a perfect for a family home. We're going to be targeting people that want to get their kids into the Carmel School District, plus the fact that we're XYZ, we're really lend ourselves away to this. Now, we're located a little bit farther away from downtown Carmel, so it's probably not going to fall into the second home buyer category. So we really are looking for the family home to get into the Carmel School District. If you can give someone a mental picture on who their buyer is going to be, and then you can start talking about the ways that you are the best at selling to that specific person. I know that your buyer is going to be that family looking for the Carmel School District. So when I go to create my marketing and create my social media videos and my presence, I'm going to be able to talk about the proximity, how much space you have and how close you are to the Carmel School District. and all those things. I'm going to be able to highlight who my target market is and sell directly to them. It's not to say that we're not going to accept an offer from somebody that doesn't fit that profile, but it really helps shed some light on why you are the best at reaching that demographic. One time, the reverse side of that, I'll give you a little anecdotal story here. I showed up to a house. The husband actually absolutely loved me. He wanted to hire me. The wife was a decision maker. This is down in the Carmel Highlands. And the wife hated me from the get-go. She despised me. And I could tell it was going really bad. And I said, what could I have done differently? She said, you should have worn a suit jacket. And she's like, the last agent came here. He wore a suit jacket, yada, yada, yada. You didn't. I said, listen, I deal with a lot of Bay Area buyers who are going to come down in California casual dress wear. No one's going to be wearing a suit jacket. They're going to be walking through this home in flip-flops and a button down, dressed exactly like I am. I know how to reach my target demographic. She hated that answer, didn't get the listing. Well, the thing was the guy that wore the suit had no idea what he's doing, didn't know how to reach the buyers. House sat on the market for about 9 months until I brought the buyer that was wearing flip-flops and a motherfucking button down, wrote an offer, absolutely gutted them and took them down. I represented the buyer. The husband even called me after the fact, called his wife a really offensive word on a voicemail, said she didn't know what she's talking about, called me a white knight and came and saved the day. That was not what I'm trying to say is I knew to them, hey, I know this is going to be a Bay Area buyer that wants to come down. They want to be close to the ocean. I know how to reach these people. I'm clued into this demographic and I know how to sell to them. That's what we're trying to explain when we're talking about who the buyer profile is for that property. It can be anything. It could be ultra luxury. Hey, I know this is going to be an old money sales home. I have connection to these people here. Or it could be super affordable. Guys, our target market is really somebody going to be a first-time home buyer that really could hardly qualify. And so maybe we need to know that we want to take care of the Section 1 work ahead of time because we know it's going to be a FHA loan. Like these are the kind of things that we want to tweak around and come in with the presentation to. Pricing discussion. Everyone wants to know what you think their house is worth. I don't like to give that number. I just don't. In fact, I very rarely do give an actual number. Number one, I like to always say, well, what do you think it's worth? Well, what do you want? If they come in with an astronomically high answer, I have some strategies that I'm going into it, but I always avoid giving a number. And I first start off with this. There are, number one, I say, pricing, instead of talking about home pricing, I like to talk about go-to-market strategy. And we really have 3 options for go-to-market strategy. We can list high, we can list low, or we can list accurately. Listing high means that it's going to be a longer sales process. We're priced above our comps. Buyers are going to be fewer and farther between. We're going to have less leverage in the negotiation battle because somebody might come look at the property once every 2 weeks, as opposed to having people parading through the door constantly. I like to use the analogy of it's like driving down a hill and pumping on your brakes, and hopefully you stop until you get to the destination. I like to give them the realistic expectation that, hey, this sale, if we price high, we might be looking at a 6-month sale, and we might be looking at doing a couple price reductions and losing all our leverage. Now, that's not to say that this is not a strategy that can't be implemented. It's just a strategy that some people really need to use. Who is pricing high right for? Sellers who are only going to sell if they get their price, right? Well, my home is worth 2.5, but I won't sell it unless I get 3. All right, then I guess we better list for 3 then, buddy, and just hope for a Hail Mary. People who are testing the market and people who are prepared for a super long escrow. And you need to make that crystal clear for them. If we are pricing above our comps, it's going to be slow and it's going to be long. It's going to be kind of a marathon sales approach. Option 2, we could price low and create a huge set of pent-up demand. Expect multiple offers at our offer review date, and we're going to be selling really fast. Now, pricing low is a risky strategy because if the multiple offers don't come to force the price higher, you're stuck at a lower listing price. Who is listing low right for? In 2020 and 2021, Back when it was the days of, 11 offers, no matter what, we used to love pricing low because it was just the opening bid in an auction. So it didn't matter. We could price something at 1.5 or 1.7. It was probably going to end up around 1.9 anyway. So we priced low just to get as many people through the door, as many offers in, and just blow it up. It's not really great right now with the current interest rate because we're not going to expect super high amounts of offers coming in on every single home. So it's a little bit riskier. And then I like to transition into option 3, listing accurately. Listing accurately is supported by the comps in the surrounding neighborhood. So, your home next door sold for 2.5, the one down the street sold for 2.3. The one that was a little bit nicer down the road sold for 2.7. We need to be within that range. The listing accurately leaves the door open to multiple offers without needing multiple offers, meaning if we get one offer, we're still going to be okay because we're within the range. We still have leverage on an accurately listed home sale. And the reason I say that is if you don't sell it to that one person that comes the first week, you're still going to be getting traction and you can go on and find another buyer. And one key point when I stress with listing accurately, it means if I bring you an all cash full ask offer, you're going to accept it. I have listed a property before where we went back and forth and we agreed upon $1 million list price. And I brought the dude $1 million offer. And he said, I really wanted $1.05 million. The time to tell me that was a month and a half ago before I just spent a month trying to get you $1 million. And did all the marketing, everything for it. We were not set up for $1.05 million. If I knew we were doing a hard line in the sand at $1.05 million, we should have prepared for that and taken a different approach. Ultimately speaking, I think we ended up selling it for right around $1 million. So he didn't understand coming into it that if I listing accurately means if I bring you in list price offer, you're going to take it. Who is listing accurately right for? It's the best option with a standard sale in a well-balanced market. It doesn't handcuff you to anything and it gives you freedom to adjust over time. So I basically go in and I list out these 3 options, usually without even telling them a price of what I would sell it for. And usually I'm going to go home and tell them they say, well, what do you think you're going to get? I said, I'm going to go home and do a CMA for you and I'm going to send it for you afterwards. And we can kind of think about it and talk about it. A lot of people will bring a CMA to a listing agreement. A lot of time they will put a price of their suggested sales price on it. I never do that personally. I don't want to pigeonhole myself into it. Give you an anecdotal evidence of this. Austin and Jen went on a listing pitch where the pictures looked great. They wrote 3.1 on the suggested sales price. They showed up, they handed the guy the CMA. In the meeting, Austin realized that they had way overshot. It wasn't really worth it. He tried to pivot back down to 2.8. The guy was pissed off because the number listed wasn't reflected in his original CMA. And he ended up shooting himself in the foot that didn't end up getting it. Don't be afraid to provide this information after the fact. And you definitely shouldn't be giving people a price until you actually put eyes on the property. Because just so it looked like something 2 years ago didn't mean that dog that they love hasn't gone and destroyed everything nice in that home. They might have kids. We don't know what their strategy is. So don't come in with the price ahead of time. People are always going to ask you, should we provide reports ahead of time? There's pros and cons to both of those. And that's something I like to speak out and speak through with them and let them come to their own decision. Pros of getting inspections done beforehand. Bay Area buyers, which are huge in our area because we have second homes down here, always expect inspections ahead of time, meaning that if they don't have a pest report and home inspection to reflect on before they make an offer, they think it's weird. It also provides transparency before the actual negotiation happens, and it gives prospective buyers something to consider. It avoids a renegotiation on new material fact, and that's something at the contingency removal that I've talked about in the past, where if they go and they inspect things and find all sorts of problems, you're going to have to renegotiate on those. So if you provide the reports ahead of time and disclose it, when they come back to renegotiate, you said, you knew this when you made the initial offer. Why are you coming and asking me for this money now? Another really key benefit to in providing your inspections ahead of time, you choose the inspector that's going to inspect your house. Not all inspectors are created the same. Some inspectors are ridiculous and they call out every little thing and it's over the top. Those can be great to represent your buyers, but you don't necessarily want to bring them in to inspect your listings, right? You should get to know all these things in your local market, know how your different inspectors do their things and their reports. And even if you don't have listings and have it trial by error, you'll be able to see other people's inspections when you're representing a buyer and find one that you think would be good for a buyer and good for a seller. But you get to choose your inspector when you're actually doing it ahead of time. So that's something to consider. Pros of no inspections, and very few times I hear people talk about this, but there is a thing, and it's an actual term, the sunk cost fallacy. Buyers feel invested in a purchase after they spend money on their own inspections, and there's no extra expenses for the sellers. But the sunk cost fallacy is this. In a lot of the lower tier markets, meaning the more affordable markets, when you have first-time home buyers and people that really aren't comfortable with cash, once they put a home in escrow and they spend $800 on a home inspection, $1,000 on an appraisal, $250 on a pest inspection, $300 on a sewer inspection, they're sitting there like, I have $3,000 invested into this. And when it comes time to either walk away or proceed with the deal, they can't comprehend the idea of falling out of that transaction they just spent $3,000 on. They've sunk costs into it and they will go through with it all the way. It's the sunk cost fallacy. A lot of the time on those lower end listings, and I'm not saying lower end, but listings that are going to be more tailored towards first-time home buyers and people that aren't flush with cash, it can be something to consider whether you're going to be providing inspections ahead of time or not, because if those buyers start putting money into the transaction, they're going to be pretty pot committed into seeing it all the way through. Just food for thought. And I like to talk that through with a lot of my sellers. Knowing your tax implications is so important when talking to sellers. Now, expectation here. If you do not understand these terms, don't go in and try to reiterate it to somebody. Like what I'm telling you is this is a tool that you should have in your tool belt, but don't take it out unless you know how to use it, right? If you don't know how to use a chainsaw, don't go start cutting down trees. Like, I want you to promise me that, nod that you understand this right now, everybody, okay? I'm watching you. Until you understand the IRS 121 exclusion, don't even mention it when you're in a listing appointment. But these are really good ways for you to talk through things. People, when they're selling their homes, are going to be faced with capital gains expenditures. Basically, they're going to pay taxes on all the money they made. An IRS 121 exclusion means that a married couple can get $500,000 on top of their tax basis capital gains tax rate. Single people, that's $250,000. If you understand the capital gains, an IRS 121 exclusion and what their tax basis is, they could say, oh, I can't sell right now. I'm going to be facing massive amount of taxes. And you can say, well, hold on a second. You bought this place for $1 million, and that was 4 years ago. You're married, so that puts you up to from $1 million to 1.5. You spent probably about $100,000 fixing it up over time, puts you at 1.6. We're only planning on selling this thing for about 1.8. So you might be in the back of your mind thinking that you're going to be paying capital gains taxes from your purchase price of $1 million up to $800 at a 34% base, 34% tax rate. When in reality, you're only going to be paying that 34% tax rate on about $200,000 of exposure. So really, instead of looking at almost $250,000 of taxes, you're only looking at about $64,000. Now, if you're armed with the ability to do that in a meeting and give them that kind of clarity and information, and obviously send them to talk to their financial advisor, because you are a realtor, you are not a fucking tax expert. But if you at least understand this on the basis, that's going to put you, and they're going to be like, this person's a genius. They know this inside and out. And all of a sudden, it's going to alleviate a major concern. Prop 19. If they're over 55 and moving somewhere else in California, they can keep their tax basis. Now, that comes with a bunch of other stuff, and there's a bunch of other rules and ways to do it. I'm not necessarily going to teach you all about Prop 19 and 121 exclusion right now. Those are just really good tools to understand and keep in your back pocket. I will have trainings on this in the future. And if you do understand those and you know them inside and out, and you can start talking about them at listing appointments, it's going to make you come off as very educated, because I can guarantee you this, only about 5 to 10% of agents out there in the world understand these two terms. So if you're one of those 5%, it puts you way ahead of the curve. As always, when giving someone any sort of tax advice, whether it be Prop 19, IRS 121 exclusion, et cetera, you need to always end it with, but I'm not a tax professional, so you need to talk to a pro and verify everything I told you. But those are just really good things to keep in your tool belt. Set expectations on what to anticipate during the sales process. And what do I mean by that? With all the marketing, I'm going to talk to you as if I'm a seller right now, but I'm also going to read it on here, so it's not going to sound very natural. With all the marketing I provide, it takes me about 3 weeks to properly bring a property to market. The suggested repairs that we will be should take about 10 days. Once the home looks perfect, we'll do the marketing day. It should take me about 7 days for the videos, photos, and websites to be edited and ready. So overall, 3 weeks before we can go to market. In this price range, a home usually should have offers accepted within about 3 weeks, putting us at approximately the 6-week mark till we're in escrow. Cash offers might take up to 10 days, but a loan offer takes typically 30 to 45 days. And we can close until you close escrow. So that means that if we're looking at a month plus 6 weeks, realistically, you should expect from the time you sign the dotted line on the listing agreement to the time that you have cash in pocket to be about 2.5 months. I always like to set that expectation with people, because it also allows you to kind of, again, work their fears. Well, I don't have somewhere to go yet. Okay, well, we were going to put in a traditional sale usually takes 30 to 45 days in escrow, but we were going to make sure to negotiate a 60-day close. And we were also going to put in a 29-day seller in possession. Therefore, you don't have to move out of the home. And from this date, when you sign on the dotted line till approximately 4.5 months, we want to be crystal clear on our expectations of our strategy. We want to explain contingencies and timelines with them throughout the whole process. So again, we want to give them those benchmark of dates of what we anticipate. And we also want to explain to them the contingencies and those renegotiations and those pitfalls along the way. Last thing you want to do is have your seller be caught off guard when you're already did all the marketing, brought it to market, accepted an offer, contingency drop date. And next thing you know, these buyers are asking for another 10 grand and they didn't know about that. That was a possibility. You know who they're going to be pissed at? You. You know who's going to not get a 5-star review on Google? You. You know what I mean? So let them know that's coming and paint the buyer as the bad guy. If you warn them it's coming, you're not the bad guy. If you don't warn them, they're going to blame you. Make sure to tell them about that second renegotiation at the contingency removal, usually at the 17-day mark. If you take anything away from this meeting, I think this is really the slide to focus on. And it's tell them about all the bells and whistles, but don't focus on it. When I was a brand new agent, I thought that our marketing was the best, because it was fantastic. But I would go in there, instead of creating a relationship, instead of talking through, instead of going over a strategy, all I wanted to talk to them about was, hey, I do these great videos, that I do these great Matterports, and I do these great 3D tours. They appreciate that, but that is not what it's about. So you want to tell them about it. You want to make sure they understand it. You want to make sure they know that we have the videographers on staff. We dominate in social media. We do the best open house strategies. We are the best at marketing in our market, but we don't want the whole day to be about that. We want to focus on the relationship. We want to focus on creating the commonality to really, build that common bond with them. Ultimately, selling houses is a people and a relationship business. So that's what you really need to be focusing your time, energy, and attention on, building that relationship, not the bells and whistles. Tell them about the bells and whistles. Don't make it the whole entire pitch. Focus on the seller and their journey. Lead them through the selling their home jungle, right? You are the tour guide. So you need to help them understand the pitfalls along the way and about the journey they're undertaking. The marketing is a tool that you're going to use to get them to their destination, but it shouldn't be the only thing you're talking about. Things that make you different as an agent make you great. All of us have our own pros and all of us have our own weaknesses in the eyes of the seller. Let the things that make you differentiate you make you fantastic. I was too young. I started selling houses when I was like in my early 20s with no former experience. And everyone whose house I was trying to sell was in their late 50s plus. But I turned that into an advantage. I know how to reach the modern buyer. The modern home buyers, 28 to 40, coming from the tech industry, from the Bay Area. I know how to reach out to those people. And that's why I can relate to them. You know, I made that being too young to my advantage. You're a new agent or a low volume agent. Well, perfect. I have the time to really invest my energy into you. I'm not one of these big time conglomerates that has 50 listings. You are going to be my client, my focus during this whole process. You're going to be able to call me day and night because I'm not a high volume agent. Me and you are really going to go this journey and you're going to get the extra attention you need. You never listed a home in this area. Perfect. This is the best opportunity to take my unique selling approach to your home area. I am the only one in my area that does the this, that, and the other thing. And I'm going to bring it to you, this market that I've never sold a home for in. And it's going to crush it out here too. And none of the buyers are ever going to see it. It's going to be awesome. One huge common thing that you're going to get is, well, I have a friend that's also an agent and I don't know about that. Maybe I'm going to go with them. Really? Well, me and your relationship is strictly professional. So if something was to go wrong or you had to have a real conversation with me, we could have that. If you go and do business with your friend, you're going to cross that personal relationship boundary really quickly, and it's going to make it very awkward. Let's make this an advantage that me and you aren't friends. So you can have a real conversation with me and I can have a real conversation with you. Long and the short of it is, don't let the weaknesses in your game or your perceived weaknesses in your game be a weakness. Make it be a strength and sell it. You're out there selling their house. If you can't sell your fucking self, you can't sell their house, right? So sell yourself. Make them leave feeling like you tailored the sales process to fit their needs. Leave the meeting with agreed upon plan A and a plan B tailored to fit them. Make them feel heard and comfortable. They need to go with you. You have the plan laid out. And if they go with somebody else, they're going to forget the plan that you laid out that made so much sense and the whole thing's wasted. You want them thinking like, damn it, I need to sign up with this person right now. I'll begin prepping the home right now. I'll complete the work in 2 weeks. You'll be living in the home so we can have the home looking perfect for the marketing date. I'll go to the market on X date, have a broker's open Y date, the open house is on these times. We're going to do private showings on these days to fit these time windows, to fit your needs, because your kids are going to be in school during that time period. Our plan is to have an offer review date on this date, which include yada, yada, yada. Like, we're going to tailor make it for them and reiterate it to them before we leave. And they're going to love it because they clearly understand the process that they're going to be going through. I said something else was the most important, but this might be the most important, actually. The follow-up email. The follow-up email, as soon as you end that listing meeting, your first destination is going to be to a computer to send them a follow-up email. It's going to recap everything you discussed, who you are, all your accolades, your differentiators, recap the pain points and the strategies you discussed. So all those pain points they told you and all those strategies you gave them, you're going to outline it for them. You're going to give them a timeline of what they should expect throughout this process. You're going to recap the services and the marketing that you provide, give them maybe an example of a video that you've done, example of a previous sale you've done or participated in. You're going to kind of make it look fantastic. You're going to set expectations moving forward, and then you're going to send them the listing agreement to review immediately. It shows that you're diligent, you're on it, you're ready to go. Now, if they don't sign that same day, the next day, you're going to call them up and say, did you have any questions on all the information I provided you? If they don't sign it that day, you're going to follow up with them the next day. Hey, wanted to know if there's anything else I could answer for you. Like, you're going to stay on them and follow up and bring it home. All right, guys. Honestly, this is a lot to take in all at once. And I'm not expecting most of it to be retained, but it'll come over time. And really, there's no wrong way to do it. You got to figure out your own strategy that works for you and your sales strategy. But this is the way I do it. I'll talk to you guys soon.